that second question I was going to ask you is how do you get you're in a traditional church that has many years under its belt, right? And then you go into this church, God gives you a great vision. How do you get buy-in from the people that have been there 20 years or 30 years,
Yep.
right? We've all gone through it. I think you said something a little earlier that God sent you people. And about 10 years ago, when we really started making a transition, God sent me two guys. One was, he became my associate pastor. Another one was an investor, real estate guy. And I remember one time we sat in a restaurant and they said, Mike, here's your problem is you think in the thousands and we're here to help you think in the millions. And
I
so
love
they're
it.
just trying to get my mentality to that next level, right? And I think we all need those people in our lives to say, you're thinking too small. You need to start thinking up here.
Wow.
And so then I had to try to get buy-in from our people to say, all right, guys, we've got to really make a shift here in how we do ministry, how we spend the finances, the direction we're going in. So how do you get buy-in from the people that have been in church forever? You get this pastor in here who's eager, great vision. How do you get that buy-in?
Yeah. Well, excuse me. I think that one, I think it's a great question. I think it's important to understand that there are early, mid, and late adopters in any situation. So
Right.
some people get frustrated. It's like I can't get these people to. I'm like, that's normal. You have early
Yeah.
adopters, mid adopters, late adopters. In any investment, Bitcoin at $1, early adopters, mid adopters at $5,000, 20,000. Oh, now I think it might be, whatever. Any
Yeah.
investment, any business, any vision, there's always early, mid, late adopters. And so I think you have to be aware of that and accept that. That's one thing. I do feel that one of the challenges is knowing who is the early, the mid, and the late. Because if I can
Yeah.
get the mid around the early, then the late adopters, the tipping point starts to happen and they start to jump over here. So knowing who your early adopters are, knowing who your mid adopters are, and knowing that there's certain late adopters that will come on board later or not come in at all. And I want to get them around them. That's one thing. Second thing is, I think one of the most important things anytime vision's being casted, one of the most important thing is to know who's the biggest influencers in the room. There's no question about it. It is the biggest thing. I didn't say who has the most money or who's been around the longest or who's the oldest, the youngest, the most extrovert. Just in general, you look at 800-person church, like yours, or 1,000 people, whatever it is right now, and you think, okay, who's the top 50? Who's the top 70 most influential people in our church? After you get past the board and the staff, who's the most influential? That is probably the biggest key. So I always look at who's the most influential. Can I get them on board? Then when there's certain people that I think, they need a little one-on-one with me because they're not, I don't know if they're just, I don't think they'll accept the vision in a public forum. They'll embrace the vision in a private forum.
That's good. Yeah.
And so, the old saying, the meeting before the meeting is the most important meeting. I gotta have this group, all these influencers, and then there's probably a select 15 or 20 that in a public forum, they won't process it, but I need them to. I think there's a lot more work in a vision than people understand. Because there's a lot that goes into it before you have the big unveiling on a Sunday morning or whatever day you do it. The big
Yeah.
unveiling, there is a lot of work that goes before the big unveiling. Getting
Very
people
good.
on board, getting the influencers on board, and having those one-on-ones that for those people that will accept it better privately than they will publicly.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't underestimate how much work it takes before you get to the unveiling. The unveiling, in my opinion, if you do all the homework right, the unveiling is just a point of celebration. You already got
Right.
everybody on board. As long as you got the major influencers on board, you had all the private meetings, you had all this, you get everybody excited, you tell them how important that they are. You're in the vision. I need your influence. I need your excitement. You step up and whatever they do, everybody will follow. They just start
Yeah.
going with it. But man, you don't have that meeting before the meeting. You don't have those early adopters all on board. You don't have those key influencers on board. You don't have those one-on-ones. And then you're going to present a big vision. You're rolling the dice.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, you do it right, and the day comes for the big vision. It's a slam dunk.